start the conversation today with something that relates to a current event. Some of you may have seen. Did anybody see? If you watch, some of the shows that I check out, like the Breakfast Club and stuff like that. And I love watching. I love checking out stuff like that. Not just because I've been a guest on the Breakfast Club, but also because I think it's fascinating to see what Black people are talking about and thinking about. And what a lot of us don't always realize is that these are great opportunities to learn about, all the topics that I teach about, wealth and investing and all that stuff. Wealth and investing are probably the most important, things happening in the Black community. They're like definitely in the top 5, top 10, because a lot of our social problems and political problems link to our economic problems. If you got rid of our economic problems, you could actually eliminate or at least minimize or reduce the impact of a lot of our social problems. So, for example, a lot of us talk about, things like, job creation, right? There aren't enough jobs out there. Well, if you have wealth, then you can create jobs. If you know how to manage wealth and know what to do with it, then you can create your own jobs. Jobs are actually something that rich people create or people that have resources create. So, the other thing or another example might be you talk about things like police brutality or mass incarceration or just the criminal justice system. Well, the criminal justice system is controlled by the politicians. The politicians are controlled by money. So if you control the money, you can control everything else that's beneath the money, right? You can control the politicians who control the criminal justice system. So here's what I want to kind of dig into a little bit as we get started. I want to talk a little bit about Master P and Tyler Perry. There was kind of a back and forth, I wouldn't even say a back and forth. I would say a forth and forth, where Master P kind of went out of his way on a lot of shows to express his concern about Tyler Perry and the way he felt. It seemed like he felt like Tyler dissed him or something like that. That Tyler wasn't being respectful, as a business partner by not following through on a project that they worked on together or something like that. I don't know anything about that part. I don't know much about the nature of the deal, who did what. And I don't think that really helps anybody to, decide like, oh, he's a bad guy or he did him dirty. That's between two people that I don't really think any of us really knows exactly why anybody did what they did. And I think a lot of people poke at Tyler because Tyler is a big fish on the block. Tyler is doing well in terms of making money. And when you start doing that well, just so you know, if you become the biggest fish on your block, you're going to have people that are just going to say things about you because you're an interesting person to talk about. If Tyler Perry was not making a lot of money and not making movies that were impacting the world, then a lot of people wouldn't talk about him. Because I remember thinking that when Spike Lee had an issue with Tyler Perry films as well. A lot of people do, actually. The idea of a Black man making all his money putting on a dress upsets a lot of people for good reason. Now, one thing I can say, though, is I don't know these guys personally, except I do know I talked to Tyler on the phone one time. He did call me. We did talk for a few minutes, and it was a good conversation. Master P, I don't know him, but I know a lot of people that have worked with him. So I know him kind of through transitivity, if you want to call it that. But anyway, but here's the thing. So one thing Master P brought up that I thought was interesting was he talked about, how he is a person that wants to use Black money to make movies. And he gave the implication that this is, or it seemed to me, he gave the implication that this was a better business model than the Tyler Perry business model, right? Tyler Perry relies on a lot of partnerships, most notably with companies like Lionsgate, where he's still an investor. He's still investing, and this is what the conversation is about. It's about investing, not about beefs and all that. You can learn about beefs on hip hop channels and stuff. This is about investing, and he gave the insinuation that his model is better than Tyler's model because he's actually referring to using Black money to make movies as opposed to using money that's white money, pretty much, from Lionsgate and other places. And you can feel free to leave your comments. Let me know what you guys think about it, But I thought about that and I was trying to process that, right? And I was trying to think, I like the idea of using Black money to do things. Like that's something I really believe in. I really believe that Black people should shape our own destiny. We should be the ones to make the decisions in terms of our economic and political future. But I was trying to think, I said, but why, what are the benefits, the pros and cons of the Tyler Perry approach versus the Master P approach, right? And is it clearly black and white? Now, it'd be easier to make to discern the two if Tyler Perry was like a straight employee. Like if Tyler just said, I go and I make the movies and I don't own anything. I just make the movies. They pay me a salary and I walk away and that's it, right? And even that argument could be somewhat effective if the salary is big enough. But for the most part, if he was just an employee, then I would clearly say, oh yeah, the Master P model is the better model because black people should own things. We should be not just the ones who are making the movies, who are in the movies and entertaining in the movies. We need to be the ones who actually own the films. But the thing about it is that Tyler Perry understands ownership. Tyler Perry gave that BET speech, which I don't think that was completely disconnected from his core beliefs, where he talked about, people protesting that the masters or what was it, the Oscars are so white. And he said, while people were saying Oscars so white, I was back in Atlanta building my own table. Instead of trying to get a seat at the table, I was trying to, basically build a table so other people can want a seat at my table. And one thing I can say is I did a tour of Tyler Perry Studios. Tyler was nice enough that I did reach out to him once when I was in Atlanta about 7 years ago, something like that. And he hit me back and he said, I won't be in town, but my number 2 person will be there. And his number 2 person met us at Tyler Perry Studios on a Sunday where they were closed down. And he met us and he gave us a really long 2-hour tour of the studio, very detailed tour. Couldn't take any pictures or anything like that. But I got a chance to see everything. And I was really impressed with what I saw. I really got a sense that they understand what it means to own something. I got a sense that they, as one of their core values, saw themselves as kind of doing something similar to what Ice Cube is doing with the Big Three League. What they were doing is basically they seem to understand that, the white man's junk can be the black man's treasure, right? Meaning that there are, billions of dollars worth of brands in terms of, celebrities and, powerful products and things like that are dumped by Hollywood because they're trying to make this big fish money. And this just laying there on the street for anybody to pick it up. So what Tyler Perry was doing in a lot of his movies, in addition to showing respect for respected black actors and actresses like the Cicely Tysons and others, was he was able to go and resurrect the careers of these actors that are loved by black people but forgotten by white people. Right? Like, think about this. How often do you see people that were mega famous in the 90s and you're like, well, where did so-and-so go? How come they haven't made any movies? Where have they been at? Right? Well, they've been around. They've been auditioning for stuff. They just haven't gotten anything. So Tyler Perry comes along and he's created an additional outlet for their talent, right? Ice Cube comes along and he grabs that basketball player who's still got some spring in his legs and still has fan support and puts him on the court. He was reaching out to the Allen Iversons and people like that. I don't think it worked out with Iverson, but there are a lot of other guys, that you hadn't seen in the NBA for a while, like Corey Maggette and Big Baby, Glenn, what's his face, and Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, and all these guys that I was like, oh, I know him, I remember him, he was good. Or Amari Stoudemire, and basically creating creating a process for them. Now, here's the thing about Tyler Perry and Ice Cube that they have in common, though, is they also have partners. The Big Three League is not owned solely by Ice Cube. He has partners that are bringing a lot of money to the table and a lot of resources to the table that I don't know if Ice Cube has himself. He's not a billionaire. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but that doesn't mean he has hundreds of millions of dollars in cash to invest in a business. Tyler Perry uses Lionsgate and other companies, I would imagine, partly for, if for nothing else, for their capital and for their distribution, right? They can take that movie, the latest Madea movie, which I'm not in the market for a Madea movie, let's just say that, and they can distribute it out to the world. They can also provide the capital, to help them to pay for, the production of the film. So, and then what happens at the back end is that there's a revenue share that takes place where Tyler, while he's not the sole owner of the project, he is a participant in the upside, right? He's a participant in the upside. And so when I heard Master P kind of giving his critique of Tyler and his approach versus Tyler's approach, I don't know all the details of exactly how they all do business, and I have a lot of respect for both of these guys. I think Master P is brilliant. I love the fact that he cares about his community, where he comes from, etc. But I will only sort of point out the pros and the cons as sort of a learning tool for those of you who want to understand ownership, and also kind of realize, like, sort of figure out the difference between an owner versus a sellout, right? It's not a on-off switch. It's not like either you're a boss or you are just a sellout, a little wimpy employee. It's like a continuum. It's a continuum where at this end you own it all, at that end you own nothing. A lot of people are somewhere in between, like Ice Cube and Tyler Perry is somewhere in between, where they have partnerships. And one of the things that I've mentioned to you guys in the Black Business School is, and this was important to understand, because everybody thought that I was telling all Black people that you have to own a business and you got to run that business. You got to be an entrepreneur. You must be an owner of everything. And I want to clarify that by saying that owning a business and being a partner in a business or investing in a business, can take a lot of different forms. There may be situations where you invest half the money, somebody else invests half the money, or you put up the money, somebody else runs the actual company, right? So you can be an owner of a business without necessarily having to run it every day. And that's something for you to think about too, because a lot of franchises require that the owner actually is the operator. Like Chick-fil-A, their stores are the most profitable stores of any other franchise. They make $4 million per store, but they require something that is more valuable than your money, which is your time, right? If you're worth millions of dollars, you can't just drop a bunch of money on it and let somebody else run it. And while you go on vacation, you got to spend your time in that store. So it's almost like a family member, like your child. Like, you can't just give your child a bunch of money, and think that that's going to be okay. You have to give them your time. Time is harder to get than money for a lot of people, especially for you guys, because you're going to be bosses. Your children will be millionaires, etc. And so anyway, when I look at so going back to the Tyler Perry versus Master P model, I would almost dare to say that both of them can really learn a lot from each other. And I think that they do. I think for Master P, I'd probably say something like, okay, I respect the fact that you want to own it all. And I think that's good. It just seems, at least that's what I'm getting. Maybe I'm wrong though. Master P is always welcome to come into this conversation too. He can come. I'd love to have him come visit the Black Business School and talk about his business models. So if you know him, don't think that this is any sort of challenge to him. It's more like saying, look, the door's open, brother. If you want to come in and talk about what you're doing, I'd love to learn more about it. But I would probably say, look, ownership is important, but sometimes a little ownership has to be relinquished to get access to more resources. Right. So if you have a partner that can make sure that your movie gets distributed out to the world, and it's the right partner and the terms make sense, then that partnership is a good partnership. Right. So if you have to have a Lionsgate or somebody distribute your stuff and they say, look, we want to own a percentage of it, I don't think that necessarily means that you've completely sold out. Also, I would think about capitalization. Right. Depending on the types of movies that you want to make. It's a lot easier if you're talking about Hollywood. They'll put 10, 20 million, 30 million, 50 million into a movie, and it doesn't shake Hollywood too much. Like, Hollywood doesn't care, about losing $50 million, but Master P probably cares about losing $50 million, right? So if he had to spend $50 million to make one movie, I would probably recommend to him, don't do that. That's what in finance, we refer to that as risk sharing. Risk sharing is where, if you have something where you're putting a big chunk of your wealth into something, and it's one project and it's sort of a hit or miss thing, and you almost feel like you're rolling the dice, then you probably shouldn't make that investment. You shouldn't be gambling with your money. You gamble with the bank's money. You gamble with money where everybody's sharing the risk, but don't gamble with your wealth, because one of the rules of capital is that capital must be preserved. And so diversification is one of the keys to preserving and protecting your capital. So I'd probably tell Master P, look, don't put 50 million into one movie, put 5 million a piece into 10 movies, and then let the other 45 million be financed by a series of investors. Do equity crowdfunding, look into that, do the Jay Morrison model, or go and partner with a Lionsgate if you're comfortable with that, if the terms are right, or go to a bank and see if the bank gives you some extra money. Because the thing about it is that I don't really know. I feel like Master P's work is solid, but I feel like there could be more added in there, right? I don't think that I don't get the impression that people feel that his work is like is at the top of the pile in terms of film, in terms of distribution, in terms of just the strength of the project. So that might mean bringing in other partners. For example, if you have more funding, you can get the absolute best writers you can get, right? Whereas when the budget's short, you have to kind of skip a little bit, or you have to fire people who might be really talented, and things like that. So that's my thought. I really share that with you guys in a little bit of a long-winded way to help you understand the subtleties of how you can structure your business and your business partnerships. I do believe partnerships are important. I think that the hard part about being a Black business owner, which means that you can't just be a straight capitalist, is that there is always a risk for a Black person who partners with white people because of the history of how wealth was stolen from Black people, how power was stolen from Black people. So when Black people make partnerships, we have to think about dynamics other people don't think about. Like for us, ownership and control is very, very important. So when I saw, for example, when I saw the debate between Jay Morrison and Vlad on Vlad TV, and then I saw another guy named Grant Cardone come in, and he had a whole different perspective. And they were all kind of saying real estate is trash. Don't invest in real estate. You don't want to own real estate. And Jay was saying, no, he actually made a good point. He said that control of your community is very important for people of color. We have to control it because we lost control, right? So I think that when I look at a partnership, if somebody said, well, what do you think about this partnership between Tyler Perry and Lionsgate or whatever, I'll probably ask a question like, okay, if a movie costs $10 million to make, and let's say that movie becomes a runaway hit, it becomes bigger than the Avengers, and the movie goes on and makes $1 billion. How's that $1 billion going to get chopped? Who gets the lion's share of that $1 billion? I know we know both of them would win, but how much does Tyler win versus Lionsgate? How much does Lionsgate win? Right? Because that's where the capital is built. That's where you build capital. You build capital when you find something small that's been invested in and it grows into something big. The next thing you know, you've got a massive capital base that you can work with. For example, athletes are a huge potential capital base because you've got this kid from the hood who doesn't generate any income at all as a kid, and he becomes this $1 billion asset out of nothing. Like literally this talent translates into $1 billion. Well, that's a capital base. He's a walking bank. LeBron James is a walking bank. James Harden is a walking bank. And so when you see that power, you have to ask yourself, when that flower blooms and that wealth becomes what it's supposed to be, who's going to get the larger percentage of that bank? Like, so for example, you go back to athletes right now, athletes don't, when they become that bank that they're supposed, when they bloom and blossom financially, the Black community does not get the big win out of that. I just saw, and this is actually a conversation I'm going to have very, very soon on my podcast, but somebody mentioned to me, they were talking about the culture of how athletes are reared and guided toward white communities, like from an early age, because they see what's going to happen when that flower blooms. They look at that kid in the hood who's a great athlete. So what's the first thing they do? They put him in a white school, like a private school somewhere out in the suburbs. Then next thing you know, he's hanging out with lots of white folks. Then next thing you know, the people he's being introduced to that are going to manage his wealth are white. The sneaker companies, the colleges, the universities are run by whites, and they're going to extract a few $100 million off of him. And then by the time he gets to the NBA, he's surrounded by potential agents and managers who all happen to be white. And then he goes to parties. He's being taken by these handlers to different parties where he's going to meet women that he might make into his wife. Well, guess what? A lot of those women are white because they see him as a potential, cash cow. So everybody's attaching onto him. And by the time he sprouts into this $100 million, $1 billion commodity, there are already all these stakeholders that have claimed hundreds of millions of dollars of that wealth that the Black community never gets to see. And then the people they leave behind in the Black community tend to be the trash, the ones who never become much of anything. So you always have to sort of think about it when you talk about people that would stake their claim, like back in the day when you had people that would go for the California gold rush and they'd stake their claim, or homesteaders who would stake their claim to land. We have to stake our claim to these assets so that if something blows up into something more valuable, then you'll have a position that allows you to benefit. So I think with Tyler Perry versus Master P, I don't think either one of them have bad business models. I think that they could, I mean, I'd love to see them work together, but maybe it wouldn't work. You know, I don't really know. I don't really know exactly how that would work. Maybe they're just not supposed to do movies together. And I also agree with, I saw some of you made the comment where you said that that maybe Tyler is just criticizing Masterpiece criticizing Tyler just to get more attention to his own projects. That's a possibility. I'm not gonna say it's not, you know, but I think at the end of the day, both of their business models have pluses and minuses. And so I would ask them different questions. So like with Tyler, I would say, you know, who really has the power and control? Who's really the one that's able to do all the hiring and deciding, you know, which direction the project's going to go, the nature of the film, because the nature of your films will affect your community. Who decides the nature of that project? Who decides who's going to work on that project? If this blows up into $1 billion project, who gets the big piece of chicken? Who gets the most benefits? Master P, I would ask him, I'd say, are you diversified properly? Are you putting, how much of your own money are you putting into these movies? Are you putting too much of your own money into these movies? Are you getting the best writers? Can you afford the best writers? Are you getting the best distribution so you can do right by your films? You know, because I'd hate for you to make a great movie and have it not do well because it doesn't have a, you know, $5 million marketing budget. You only had, you know, $500,000 or whatever. Like, I want to see your movies really get out there to the world. So are you getting everything you need? Are your projects well nourished in a way where they're going to be as successful as they could possibly be? So that's how you would look at the difference between the two. I don't think it's a matter of picking a winner. I think it's a matter of understanding the pros and cons of all of that. And actually, and I know you guys give me shit because sometimes I'll explain. It'll take me a while to really get to the heart of what I want to say, but I do that deliberately because the key to understanding wealth and investing in economic power is understanding all the subtle stuff. It's the subtleties that make a difference, and it's also an acknowledgement and an understanding that when it comes to finances and investing, there's rarely a right or wrong answer. There's rarely a yes or no answer. There's rarely a black and white answer. Everything is about shades of gray. Everything is more about understanding the dynamics of how it all works, so you can figure out individually where you want to be placed in the process and understanding the pros and the cons of the choice that you make. So if you say, is it better to invest in risky assets or non-risky assets? Well, I would say, well, it depends. And, you know, tell me about your risk profile. What are your goals? You know, how much wealth do you have? What kind of investor are you? What are you interested in? Right? So it doesn't mean that, well, it's like picking the difference between a black Mercedes and a green Mercedes. Like, I can't tell you which one's better. I can only tell you the pros and the cons of each. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, because I talked about it for a while, but I really wanted to make that point. And I also want to make that point of when you talk about two black men that are doing great things like Master P and Tyler Perry, I want to make it 100% abundantly clear that I think both of these guys are great for the community in their own way, and I have a lot of respect for each of them. Okay, so do me a favor. I want to remind you guys, tonight the masterclass meets for the Black Business School. So if you want to log in and get the access codes and information for that, and all the recordings are there from the previous masterclass, you can go to drboycemasterclass.com. Just log in, drboycemasterclass.com. You can get the recordings for the previous masterclass. And if you go through all those videos, a lot of you are in the masterclass. So if you go through all those videos, make sure you get your degree, your certificate of achievement from the Black Business School. Put it on your wall, because the Black Business School is the Harvard for Black people. So that's the Master P in me. We built this with our bare hands, with our own money, and because we believe Black people deserve our own business schools, our own universities, and that's why we do this. Okay, so make sure you do that. Last but not least, also don't forget, I'll be in Chicago next Sunday. You can go to drboycechicago.com if you want to check that out, drboycechicago.com. So go ahead and you guys can ask questions if you want, if you're inside the webinar. Let's see here. Charles said, your man Dame said, bet on yourself so the rewards are all yours, though I think your perspective is smarter. Yeah, you're talking about Damon Dash. Damon Dash and I, we did that class, Intelligent Boss Moves, which actually you can still find that content if you want to go check it out. It's intelligentbossmoves.com. And basically in intelligentbossmoves.com, the reason we structured it that way, the reason I worked with Damon Dash on that project is because we had different points of view. We had enough in common that we respected each other, but we're not past tense. I would say respect each other. But also we had enough differences in perspective that it's kind of like the best of all worlds. You know, Dame did not go to, traditional business school, but I didn't build Rockefeller Records, right? So who am I to say that I know more than him or he knows more than me or anything like that? No, we learn from each other. and that's how you get a true understanding of something. To really understand a building or a structure, you got to look at it from different angles, different perspectives. So Dave will come in and talk about the same topic just from a different perspective, and it really turned out to be like a nice combination of points of view. For example, he was talking one day, he was talking about selling businesses and how he would sell his fashion companies and stuff like that. And he said, yeah, well, it comes down to your EBITDA. And I said, your what? And he said, your EBITDA. If your EBITDA, blah, blah. I was like, what? EBITDA? What is that? And I said, oh, you're talking about EBITDA, your earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation. But he called it EBITDA, right? It was like, okay, well, it's EBITDA. But the thing is that you're right. I think that approach, like what you're saying here, Charles, about betting it all on yourself. There are benefits, but that's also when you're incurring what is called idiosyncratic risk. Idiosyncratic risk is basically the risk that you get when you're not fully diversified. What a lot of companies do, like the Facebooks and stuff like that, is when they go public, they don't just go public to raise extra money. They go public because they want to get out. Like when Mark Zuckerberg went public, one of the first things he did was he started selling Facebook stock. Jeff Bezos every couple of months sells $1 billion worth of Amazon stock so that he can invest money into Blue Origins. I believe that's the name of his space company. So he's doing two things. One, he's capitalizing his space company because he built capital by building this great company called Amazon. So he's able to take that capital and redeploy it to other projects. But then two, he's diversifying. You don't want everything in all your money in one spot, because that's how you can lose it all very, very quickly. Let me see here. Valerie says, I think it's a waste of energy criticizing either. They each do what works for them. Don't tie someone's hands who's trying to make a change. I agree 100%. I think it's better to try to understand the benefits of all perspectives. Let's see here. Charles says, I think Tyler Perry has a hand up on Master P on the distribution and marketing. Yeah, and that's true. When you have these other partners, you get access to a lot of bright, shiny stuff that other people don't get. But the downside is that every time you gain something, you lose something too most of the time. So you're gaining access to these resources, but you're also giving up power and control. So you have to make sure whatever partner you pick is somebody that you're comfortable partnering with, or it can become an absolute nightmare. Let's see here. What should we bring to the A, B, and C, says Jacob. You can maybe bring a pad and a pen. You can take notes, because we actually have master classes at the All Black National Convention where we're going to show you on Friday. Attorney Nicole Compton will do a session on how to start your business. And she's very good. I mean, she just knows everything there is to know about business and the paperwork and all of that. Like, you will have no questions when you talk to Nicole. She's amazing. And then I'll do a session on how to invest. Julian Gordon will be there actually doing a presentation on real estate. But we're also going to have the All Black National Convention is not just business. It's all inclusive of a lot of things. So we're going to cover, panels on men and women. Dr. George Fraser is coming. Dr. Claude Anderson, Vicki Dillard. We have panels on politics and women and everything you want to think about. Everything going on in the Black community is what we talk about at the All Black National Convention. So if you want to learn more, get your tickets now, because we will sell out. I have no doubt we're going to sell out. And that's because we deliberately set it up that way. We don't really want this to be a massive thing where everybody comes in. We really want the right people there. So we set a cap on that. So feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com if you want to go take a look at the tickets. Allblacknationalconvention.com. Let's see. How do I get involved in this building and structure of our people? Well, there's a lot of ways to get involved with it. I mean, you could join organizations, like investment clubs. Like we just actually started the Black, BLAAC, the Black London Asset Acquisition Council. And basically that was created when I was in London, and Black London, we were all together and we said, okay, let's create a group and let's test this out. So what we're doing is we're testing out the idea of trying to work through the Black Business School to deploy investment clubs all around the world. We're starting off in London. Depending on how that goes, we'll consider adding in some other cities. I know I talked to some great people in Philadelphia about doing the same thing. And that's really what people want. People want to be brought together. The challenge is the administrative burden. And when you're in a situation, like the one that we're in, where you've got a lot of people's money that's kind of being moved around, you have to be really careful, because it's hard doing business in the Black community because you've got a lot of people that want to call everyone a fraud and all this other stuff. So if you make one mistake, there are people that won't forgive you at all. They will just say, oh, well, you see, he's saying all these positive things in the Black community, but really he's not a positive person. Well, the reason people think that way is because they themselves may be negative people who believe anybody who's trying to do something positive or who has solved the problem in the Black community, that it must be all fake. It must be a lie, like everything else is a lie. And that bothers me. So what I want to do is be careful so that we can minimize the amount of risk and complication that comes up. In fact, with the London group, I told them, I said, you guys run the group. You guys decide who your president and vice president are going to be and all that stuff. You manage the money. That way, it's not something where I'm managing your money. And it's just the truth. Let's see. Alicia says, when are you doing a convention in New York? Actually, we're going to New York in October. The URL is going to be drboycenewyork.com. Los Angeles, actually, Chicago is this week, July 28th, drboycechicago.com. Let's see. Next is Los Angeles in August. It's drboycelosangeles.com. All Black National Convention September, allblacknationalconvention.com. New York is in October, drboycenewyork.com. We don't know where we're going to go in November and December. I'm thinking Charlotte maybe, because I've always wanted to go to Charlotte. So that might be where we'll go. Is there a discount code for the national convention? Yes. Contact the hotel where the All Black National Convention is being held, Valerie, and they will give you the bulk rate on the rooms. Also, those of you who are flying into Chicago, the hotel, it's a Black-owned hotel that's hosting us. They actually have a discount rate on rooms as well, drboycechicago.com. Will the convention come to New Orleans? We had an event in New Orleans. We did a 48-hour business school in New Orleans. That was about a month and a half ago. I don't know when we're going to come back. Let's see here. Let's see. Chris Myers says, I'm in your stock market class. Will I receive a certificate once I'm done? Absolutely. Any program that you sign up for in the Black Business School, it's designed, once you go through all the videos, you can print out your certificate and you will then have something you can put on your wall. And I want you to do that because this is better than a college degree. I've taught in business schools for 25 years. I know what they do. I know what they offer you. And I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm not saying that what they offer isn't good. I'm saying that we offer something that's better. It's superior because it costs less. It's more specific to what you're trying to accomplish as Black people, right? And so it's better for less money, a lot less money. You know, instead of paying, $100,000, you're paying, $199 a month or something like that for the time that you're in the program. And, so that's $3 or $4 a day. That's not very much money. It's less money than it costs to buy a McDonald's value meal. So basically, that's why we're disrupting education. We're basically offering a high quality, low cost, culturally relevant alternative to what people get in a regular business school. The other thing, too, is that we set up our business school for children. So we believe that for what we have called Project 2070, where we want the Black community, we know that we can make the Black community the most financially literate, financially intelligent group of people on the planet by the year 2070. We're encouraging Black people to shift the perspective by sending their children to business school at the ages of 7 or 8. So while everybody else is sending their kids to football camp, basketball camp, cheerleading camp, you're sending your children to entrepreneurship camp. They're learning how to invest at an early age. They're learning how to buy real estate at an early age. So that gives them a 10-year head start. So by the time they get to be 18, 19, 20, they're already full stride, whereas everyone else hasn't even begun yet. In fact, actually, believe it or not, Donald Trump, as crazy as he is, that's what his father did. And whether people want to act like he's not a billionaire or not, it was confirmed that this man is worth billions of dollars. He's not a fake billionaire. He's a real billionaire. He was not a billionaire when he started, right? And a lot of the reason that he got ahead when it came to wealth and he's able to do the things he does is because his father, Fred, positioned him to get a running start at an early age. His father, Fred, put him in business school at an early age. So I want children that can compete with the Donald Trumps of the world. I don't want children that can only feel oppressed by the Donald Trumps of the world. I want your child to be able to stand toe to toe, eye to eye, no fear, and say, you got yours, I got mine, you got your people, I got my people. If you want to make a deal, we can, but you're not going to make a deal that's going to screw me because I have as much power as you. That's my vision and my dream for Black children in the Black community. So our wealth programs for children are blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. If you want to take a look, blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Moses says, when will you be in the Washington, D.C. area? No time soon. We were in DC about a year and a half ago. I got some other cities I got to go to before we circle back, but I'll let you know. I'll pretty much announce whatever cities I go to next. Alicia says, I'm a student in college studying to be a financial planning advisor. Good. How can the Black Business School help foster my education as opposed to a college or university? Alicia, first of all, I'm very proud of you. And I just like that name because, you know, the lady I'm in love with, her name is Alicia too. So whenever I hear that name, I just get goosebumps. Black women are the best, by the way. I just feel like I have to say that because everyone seems to be saying the opposite. But ain't nothing like a Black woman, especially a good one, a really quality, sturdy Black woman. It's amazing. Anyway, so the way the Black Business School can supplement what you're doing, I love your plan, Alicia, and I love the fact that you have a plan. We can supplement what you're doing because what we do is we take education and we're able to make it Blacker and more relevant. And we actually have business models that we created ourselves that aren't sort of, you know, this stuff that you would just find in a textbook somewhere. What we figured out with the scientists that we have connected with our school, people like Dr. Claude Anderson and others who wrote books like Powernomics, is that Black business models have to be different from white business models. People use terms like Black capitalism. I don't like that term because I don't believe that the best business models for Black people are capitalist business models, because capitalism is inherently, the Eurocentric version is built on extensive, unbelievable amounts of greed. And what it does is it says, no matter how much money you make, you have to make more. And if you can't make more doing what you're doing, you got to go take somebody else's stuff. That's why you see the United States involved in wars around the world that they have no business in. It's all because of capitalist greed. So we talk about models where you have a double, triple bottom line, where you understand that, look, make your money, get rich, but make sure that there are certain values that you put above your money. Like your community benefiting matters far more than how much money you make, right? Or building a family empire that's going to last the next 200 years is far more important than you getting a little bit of extra income in a house in the suburbs. And so we shift our models also in terms of like things like entrepreneurship. In a lot of business schools, for example, they'll teach you that, you know, they'll teach you something like, you know, the average business takes 3 to 5 years to become profitable. Anybody heard that, right? Anybody ever read that anywhere? Like, with the average business takes 3 to 5 years to become profitable. I think that's the craziest thing in the world, because I don't know any Black people who can sit around and lose money for 3 or 4 or 5 years. I just don't. I don't know Black people, you know, or I'll hear, you know, on a podcast, some white kid say, oh yeah, I went and I borrowed $800,000 from my uncle and my aunt. And I'll be like, how did you borrow $800,000 from your relatives? I don't even know if I have relatives I can borrow $800 from, $8,000 from. 800 grand? Are you kidding me? So basically, we shift the business models to be ones that are more community transformative, that build family empires that last several generations, also that allow you to do what most Black people are trying to do. Most Black people I know that quit their job and go try to start a business, they don't have 3 to 5 years to become profitable. They have 3 to 5 months. So ultimately, that's what we do in the Black Business School, is we give you something I never had. I went to school from the age of 18 to the age of 31. I was in school all through my 20s, working on my PhD and everything else. All through that time, 13 years straight, I never once had a single Black professor. So all these professors I was paying tens of thousands of dollars to every year were professors half the time that didn't respect where I came from, cared nothing about my community. And in their mind, the best way they felt they could help me was by getting me away from my community, right? Like, oh, we're going to help you by allowing you to get a job where you're going to work with white people. We're going to help you by giving you enough money where you can come live out in the suburbs with white folks, right? Or we're going to help you by putting you in a position where you're not connected to your community anymore. And the reality is that that's not helping you. It's actually making you weaker, which is why you have so many miserable Black professionals out here who are successful, but they don't feel successful because they're in either economic traps or debt traps. They came from college where they can't pay their student loans. Half of all Black college graduates never repay their student loans. They can't repay them because it's too much. And then so you think about this, right? This fall, you're going to have hundreds of thousands of Black youth going to college, where they're all going to commit about $200,000 of future Black family wealth, right? This is where your wealth is going. This is why the wealth gap is growing between whites and Blacks. You're committing about $200,000 of your family wealth to get a piece of paper from a big white university that's overcharging you for education. And so here's what's going to happen. Half of those students, just based on statistics, half of them are never going to get a degree, but they're still going to get the debt. They're guaranteed to get the debt. They're not guaranteed to get the degree, right? So the debt doesn't give you a degree. It only guarantees you the debt, right? The debt doesn't guarantee the degree, but it guarantees that you're going to have a financial burden that you have to lift later on in life, right? So half those students are never going to get the degree. And then out of the half that actually get the degree, half of that half will never be able to repay the loans. Half of all Black college graduates default on their student loan debt, right? So only 1 out of every 4 are actually going to be in a situation where they graduate and pay off the debt. But even among those who pay off the debt, I know a lot of people who actually paid their debt off who still have a lot of regrets and are irritated by the fact that they had to spend 20 years paying off this student loan, when instead they could have spent that money building a business or buying a house, right? So I'm not trying to say college is a bad move. I'm trying to say that we've got to think more carefully about how we educate ourselves to make sure that you get what you want. So the last piece of advice I would give someone like Alicia is to remember this. There's an old saying that says, formal education helped me make a living, self-education helped me make a fortune. So one of the things that we believe in the Black Business School is that you learn better from people who have done the things that they're teaching you. You learn better from people, you learn better when it comes to making money from people who've actually made money. So most of our professors have made money. A lot of them are millionaires. A lot of the people that we bring through are people that earned their right to teach by building something that actually works. So we've had visits from people like Tariq Nasheed, who built Hidden Colors, that whole film empire with his bare hands, and it's made, and Hidden Colors has made probably over $10-15 million since it started. We bring in people like we've had Damon Dash come through. We have Dr. George Frazier come through, who built the Power Networking Conference. We have people like Dr. Claude Anderson, who wrote the books Powernomics and Black Labor, White Wealth. Like, these are your scholars. These are your most brilliant people that understand your plight and care about your community, but can tell you how to deal with being Black in America in a way that's going to help you win, as opposed to people who want to act like race does not exist, right? So that's my whole spiel on this, and this is why we exist, and this is why I think you probably want to give the Black Business School a try. The other thing that we do that universities don't do is we give you a 30-day 100% money back guarantee. If you're not happy for any reason whatsoever, no questions asked, you say, hey, I tried this out, it didn't work for me, I want a refund, we give you a refund. Universities don't do that, right? So we just want to say, give us a try. Feel free to sign up for any of our programs. If you go to theblackbusinessschool.com, you can look and see everything that's there. Also, if you have any questions, or if you're enrolled in something or not enrolled in anything just yet, you're still thinking about what you want to do next, send an email. Send us an email to support@theblackbusinessschool.com. And so that means if you email support@theblackbusinessschool.com, we'll help you solve your problem if you have a problem. Or 2, if you're not sure what you want to enroll in, we have enrollment agents that are sitting there waiting to respond to you, who can tell you all about the programs and make suggestions on where you want to get started. Okay, so feel free to take a look. We're very, very good at what we do. Let's see. Daryl says, what do you think about coming to VA, Virginia, as the mentality needs help? I'll come anywhere. I think that it's more so about, it's easier for me to do things. One of the ways that we function in the Black Business School, on a budget that's far lower than what a lot of universities get. Like, if people supported us the way we support white folks, then we would have no problems with money. We'd be able to do whatever we wanted. But sometimes it's tough to get Black people to support a Black business, and white people don't support Black businesses at all. And so it's tough. It's really tough. But we're getting the job done. But one of the things that we ask from the community is, we say, look, if you want us to come to your community, show us that you want us there. Get a group of people, get 100 people that all agree to pay, 100 people $100 or something like that. Then, and say, hey, we're going to email Boyce's manager, and we want Boyce to come and do an investment seminar in our city. You get 100 people to commit $100 to make it happen. Then great, that's 10 grand. That means we can cover the travel costs for my team. We can get a venue. We can do all of that stuff, and then we'll even put up the rest of the money. Like, if there's more money to spend, we'll put up the rest of the money. But what we ask the communities to do is show us that you really want us. If you want us there, then get with your church, get with your friends, get with people on Facebook, and make it happen. And you can email my manager directly. Her email address is manager@boycewatkins.com. That's manager@boycewatkins.com. And we can, if you're in Africa, we'll come to Africa. We've done that before. Let's see here. Let's see. Does the convention actually end at 10 on September 30th? I'm looking at my flights. You know what, Valerie? The convention ends when you would like for it to end. But actually, it on September 29th, Sunday. That's the last day. So hopefully it doesn't say the 30th. If it does, then I'll have to make sure I make a note to change that. But no, it doesn't end on Monday. It actually ends on Sunday. So you should get a flight on Sunday evening to get it to go home, or maybe on Monday morning. That would probably be good as well. Let's see. Anonymous says, is owner financing a better opportunity to own property as opposed to getting a conventional loan? It depends on the interest rate. Every loan depends on the interest rate. Interest rates are like a rental fee that you pay for money, right? So ultimately, if you if you can, it's like renting a car. If I can if I have two cars that are exactly the same, and one car dealership charges me $100 a week, the other charges me $600 a week, then I'm going to go with the one that charges me $100 a week. So owner financing in itself is not necessarily better or worse all the time than bank loans. It just depends on what rate's being charged. Is it safe to invest in property in Chicago? Yes, it's safe to invest in property anywhere, but it's not safe to buy property anywhere in Chicago, right? So you want to research the neighborhood, look at the places that you consider and invest in. How would you pick partners for an investment group? You pick partners, Chris, for an investment group the same way you pick partners for marriage or dating. If you pick somebody to marry, you need to remember what New Edition said. Remember New Edition had that song where they said, sunny days, everybody loves them, but tell me, baby, can you stand the rain? Right? That's a great question to ask your investment partners. Can you stand the rain? If you have an investment partner that has a stiff backbone where they're able to withstand the downturn, if they're consistent, and if they have a good consistent work ethic, ready to put their money where their mouth is, they stick to the things that they start, then that's a great business partner. But if you have somebody that's flaky or squeamish or gives up easy or doesn't really want to invest or is lazy, then that's a terrible business partner. So make sure you pick your business partners the way you pick your spouse. You don't pick somebody that's going to give up easy. You pick somebody that's going to ride with you to the end of time. Unless you're a wimp too. If you're a wimpy person that gives up too easy, then maybe it's a match made in heaven. Y'all both just start a failing business together, and 3 years later you're both bankrupt. But I'm going to encourage you, if you're a person that works hard and sticks to the things that you believe in, pick somebody who does the same. That's very important. Let me see here. Somebody says shout out East St. Louis, Illinois. Okay, you've been officially shouted out. Okay. Let's see. Anisha says, our 401k is still a good opportunity to take advantage of. Absolutely. You get tax benefits from 401ks. That's why people that's why that's actually the best place to start investing. Don't be stupid, and don't let anybody talk you out of participating in your company's 401k plans or any sort of matching funds plans. I bet black people probably lost $1 trillion just from not participating in our employer-sponsored investment plans. Most people that get invested in the stock market, they start investing by basically doing the plan that's at their job. Most people that become millionaires in America, a lot of people that become millionaires, I'm not talking about people that are born millionaires, I'm talking about people that become millionaires. They usually become millionaires because they've done what David Bach refers to as the automatic millionaire. In his book, The Automatic Millionaire, he talks about all the millions of people who become millionaires just by consistently investing in like their company's retirement plans or things like that. So, remember, getting rich quickly doesn't happen hardly at all, but getting rich slowly happens all the time. And that's what you want to aim for. Lynn Dyson, I'm going to answer the questions for Lynn Dyson and also Lynn, Charles, Jacob, and Stacy, and then I have to go because I got to interview Dr. Julianne Malveaux, who is a brilliant economist. She has a PhD in economics from MIT. We'll actually be on drboycetv.com if you guys want to join that interview. So that's going to happen in a few minutes. But anyway, the first thing, let's see here. Lynn says, do you feel real estate is the key to turning our communities around? I think real estate is very important. Forming an LLC to invest syndications by multifamily creating cash flow. Yes, I think we can take back our communities one property at a time. Absolutely. I think real estate is extremely important. I think every black child in America should know how to start a business by the age of 12. They should also know how to buy stock at a very early age. It doesn't take long to learn how to do that. And then also they should know real estate by the age of 12. That'll give them something to do, something to think about, something to dream about, something to obsess about. That's what's going to make them great. Charles, we need you in Daytona. Are there any certifications necessary to start an investment group? No, you can start an investment club without any certifications at all. We actually, in the theblackstockmarketprogram.com, theblackstockmarketprogram.com. One of the lectures, there's a bunch of lectures in there that I do, and you guys know me well enough, I think, to know that, you know, when I deliver stuff, it's always unique how I deliver it. But theblackstockmarketprogram.com, not only can you get a certificate from the Black Business School, but also we have lectures on a lot of stuff, one of which is how to form an investment club and all the details on that. So feel free to check that out. Also, drboycemasterclass.com. Those of you in the masterclass, we will talk about investment clubs in the masterclass too. Let's see. Stacy, how do I set up manufacturing distribution for my invention? Can you help my network? Manufacturing and distribution for an invention, that is not so much in my wheelhouse. I'm not one that really does that a lot. What I would probably do if I were you and you're serious about what you're trying to do is go and take some online class with a person that has done that before and done it successfully, and they may charge you money. They're going to charge you more money than we'll charge you. They may charge you a few hundred or a few $1,000s, but you know, I'm gonna tell you, this stuff is worth it. People balk, you know, when somebody says, "Oh, my class is $5,000, $10,000." What they don't understand is that most of those people are not as silly as I am. Like they're charging you that money a lot of times because they're teaching you a game that very few people know, and a game that has actually proven to work. Like, you know, like a guy like a Grant Cardone, you know, who's a sales expert, you know, his stuff costs a lot of money, but I don't laugh when people tell me they take one of his programs, because the man knows how to make millions of dollars. Your college professors don't know how to do that. Most college professors have never run a business. Most business school professors, you know, the ones you win $100,000 in debt to learn from, they've never run a business. They've never become millionaires. They wouldn't know how to be a millionaire. If their university wasn't giving them a paycheck, they would be bankrupt and homeless. So you want to learn. I mean, I would just tell you, if I have something new I want to know, to this day, if I have something new I want to know, I find the person who proves to me that they really know how to do it, where they can show me their success, and I will drop thousands of dollars in their pocket, because they're going to help me make hundreds of thousands, or they're going to help me make tens of thousands. So that's the key to wealth. That's the last point I'm going to leave with before we get out of here. The key to wealth is invest this much, make that much. Buy low, sell high. Invest a little, turn it into a lot. So same thing is true with education. If, you know, when people say, was college worth it? Or, you know, should I take this class? Is it worth it? Well, I say, well, what's the basic, you know, let's ask the basic question that I could probably ask a 5-year-old. Okay, if you invest this much, did you make that much or more? Did you make more than what you put in? If the answer is yes, then the answer is yes, right? If the answer is yes, then my answer becomes a yes, right? So college, same thing. If college costs, somebody says, well, should I go to a school that costs $80,000 a year? Yeah, well, if you're investing that much and you're getting that much, if you're buying low and you're selling high, then yeah, absolutely. So you go to Harvard, it costs you $250, $300 to go to Harvard, but you're making millions. Good for you. Way to go, buddy. You made a good move, right? But if you invest a lot and you went to Iowa State and it costs you even less than Harvard, but you get out with a degree that isn't worth anything, then no, you made a bad investment. So that's that. So a lot of the concepts of investing and making money are actually much simpler than you think. Buy low, sell high is probably the most important concept in all of investing. David Banner and I laughed about that when I saw David. We did an event out in me, him, and I think Dr. Claude Anderson was there, if I'm not mistaken. And we were sitting there talking, and we were just kind of chatting because we were sitting next to each other, kind of whispering back and forth. And I said, a lot of people don't understand that a lot of business is just buy low, sell high. Just sell it for more than what you paid for it. If you do that and you keep doing that over and over again, then you'll eventually be a millionaire. And he kind of laughed and said, yeah, exactly. You know, so a lot of the stuff that seems complicated is not complicated. A lot of it's just formalized common sense. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to go, guys. Just a reminder, if you still want to get, curricula in your house for your kids, I encourage you, send your children to business school early. Or if you don't got kids, send somebody else's children to business school early. It'd be a great gift for them. Send the little kids next door. Send your little cousin, your little nieces and nephews, your grandkids, whatever. And we give you the tools to have a business school right in your house. The 3 tools we offer are our financial workbooks, which we have for every grade level, our financial flashcards, and also which we have for investing and also for entrepreneurship, and the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, which is digital, where your child can actually get a degree, get a college degree from the Black Business School at the age of 7, 8, 9 years old, whenever they finish the program. So if you're interested in checking out the workbook and flashcard bundles to have the curriculum in your house, go to financialworkbooks.com. That's financialworkbooks.com. If you're interested in the digital program with the self-study exams and everything else online, you can go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Also, for those of you who are in the masterclass or want to join, we're going to meet tonight at 8 o'clock. We meet every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. You can go take a look at that at drboycemasterclass.com. That's drboycemasterclass.com. Last but not least, Chicago and Los Angeles is where I'll be holding the investment seminars. That's drboycechicago.com and drboycelOsAngeles.com. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And you guys, if you watch me a lot, you hear me say these things a lot, but that gives you actually a key and a cue into how marketing has to work. If you don't tell people about it, they won't know, right? So if you want to know why I repeat things sometimes, it's because I know that if I don't tell you, then you won't know. So same thing is true with your business. Whatever you got going on, tell people, and don't assume because you told them once that everybody knows it. You have to tell people things about 7 times before it sinks in. I don't know if you guys know this. In marketing, they say people have to see your message 6 or 7 times before they internalize it. Or also, if you're running a business and you're marketing ideas and concepts to your team members, literally you have to repeat it 7 times before it sinks in. And I learned that as a college professor because I couldn't understand. I said, I told my students this three times, but there's still students that come up and say, well, what day is the test, right? So then I just learned that you have to be prepared to repeat yourself. That's a rule for every person in here that wants to be a boss, every person in here that wants to be a CEO. You're going to have to repeat yourself. So you guys get to see me do that in action. I practice what I preach and I preach what I practice. So that's why you hear me repeating things. And just know I'm going to keep on doing it. I ain't going to stop, can't stop, won't stop, because we're going to win, because we are Black people. We're the original man. We're the greatest people in the history of this planet. And I'll be damned if we're going to walk out of here like some suckers and some losers. So y'all go out here, Black people, and keep on winning. I love you. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.